Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I assume I'm running the show tonight because Brian refuses to, and Gary's not here, and
I'm producing.
Yes. Brian is producing. But thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us. We have some basketball to talk about and some upcoming basketball to talk about. We have Sam back with us, our resident WNBA expert, certified ball knower. She did win our women's and men's bracket challenge this year, both of them. So shout out to her. Ryan, thanks for being here. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. I'm happy to have everybody here. Like I said, Gary's not here. The show's improving. The average IQ has shot up immensely. Just removing his bad takes is really a beneficial move for this podcast in the future.
It's true. What we have not told him is that we are trading him for Sam.
Yeah, it's a Luka level trade.
Wait, which team are we?
We are the Lakers.
Okay.
We're getting Luka. We traded old Gary, Anthony Davis.
We're coming into their prime, Luka Doncic.
Right, yes. Yep.
Dibs on coaching because, it just kind of suits me, I think.
Yeah, fits your style.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you for being here. It's been a while, but we're happy to have you back. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I am so back. We are so back. Did you guys make a new intro to this podcast, or was that always there?
You don't watch without telling us you don't watch, but
yeah, I mean, we've had different intros. That one is kind of the generic one that we use, but we've had like 2 or 3 different ones that we've tried.
Oh, okay.
We also have different assets, that we throw at people, like memes and things. But this is now a serious pod, so we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Time to get serious then.
Well, I guess tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's opening day for the Women's Professional Basketball League, or the W, as some may call it. I was listening to a podcast earlier today with the commissioner of the WNBA, and she strictly referred to it as the W. So I think it's only fair that I just continue to call it the WNBA because, as people know, I'm very controversial in my best sports takes. So I'm going to go with the WNBA. And we're kicking it off tomorrow after what was probably the most successful season of the WNBA last year. The viewership skyrocketed last season, largely due to one Caitlin Clark being in the WNBA now. I'm just going to kind of gauge the room here, right? We'll start with Sam because she is the resident expert, and then we'll go to Ryan. Can you vocalize, maybe put into words, give me some adjectives, if you will, about your excitement level for this year, the new crop of rookies coming in, one specifically that we may talk about later. But just what are your thoughts and feelings going into this year's WNBA season?
Let me think. Any one word or a couple words?
Just spill the beans, whatever you got about this.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a better season than last year. I think they've finally got a little bit of it like better handled with, coaches and owners and trades and all those things. And a lot of teams have a completely different roster than they had last year. So I think it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you think about this year's WNBA season?
WNBA
season. Sorry, excuse me.
W season. Yep. I'm excited as well. I think what's interesting is we're getting really close to a new media deal, getting to a new CBA with that media deal. That is going to be the biggest landscape change the WNBA has ever had. I don't remember a time where they were like positive about the media deals. They've always been kind of indifferent. It's like we're gonna, hold serve, and teams are gonna move and disappear. And right, it was a fledgling league for a very long time, as a lot of professional leagues are when they start. But to see the money that's coming in, partly due to Caitlin Clark, but also I think people are starting to appreciate other players because they were watching her, and they're noticing other people as well. I think there's going to be some money in the league. I think that's going to be big for players, big for the league. I mean, big for the NBA as a major partner and trying to advocate for them. I think all these things are just good for basketball too. To have a better appreciation. So it's exciting. We're in this weird like gray space in between like the next CBA, where I think that might be a different league.
Yeah, there's a lot of clamoring.
WNBA in name only.
Yeah, right. I don't think the NBA would sell the league, though. I feel like they're going to retain rights, but there definitely will be an influx of cash coming in because, like we said earlier, the viewership skyrocketed last season, and I just expect that to go up. The only Ion TV is hosting opening night on Friday night. I get that there's like NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs going on, but you figure you might be able to find a station that's not hosting one of those two and put it on there. If you think you have 3 to choose from, right? TNT, ABC, and ESPN. Probably one of those can host the WNBA season openers. But Saturday they will be on ABC.
They got Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think more people
on
have
Saturday.
Disney Plus than Ion.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's Saturday too. But I mean, to be fair, Saturday is Liberty Aces, which I think is maybe the real opener.
Yeah,
and then Sky Fever right after that. So I get why that was pushed to the bigger media market.
Yeah, we also have a new team this year, Golden State Valkyries. So that's exciting for those people out, in the Bay Area. I don't know. Does anyone know where they're playing? Are they playing in the old Oracle Arena, or are they playing in the Chase Center?
No idea.
Oh, I'll look it up. I don't actually know.
Because I feel like if they're going to the old Oracle Arena, that would be exciting for them.
Chase.
So they're going to play in Steph Curry's house. I got it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think most international players ever on that team, the WNBA. I think they have like 12 international players, something like that. It's crazy number.
Roster.
I think they speak like 8 different languages.
Kelsey Plum's on there now too, and Kate Martin. Yeah, Kate Martin's on there.
From household names.
Yeah.
Kelsey Plum.
I know. She has a cannon.
Oh no, she's on the Sparks. I'm sorry, she's on the Sparks. She's just Kate Martin.
Oh,
well, we lost the big name.
Yeah, never mind.
Valkyries, though, I think I read it's like 8 different languages on the team or something like that.
I always wonder what they talk about in the locker room.
It's I don't know if they all of those international players made the team. That was just in preseason. I imagine some of them didn't actually make the team, but they have they got quite a worldwide Mr. Worldwide is what I'll call them, or Mrs. Worldwide.
Well, Sam, you've had a little bit of time to prepare, but for those listening at home, we're going to put her on the spot. As is tradition on the show, we like to ask questions that we do not know the answers to. So, Sam, using your expertise of the WNBA and having watched most of these girls play in college, except for the international ones, Ryan and I would like to ask you who you think are going to be the conference winners and the overall champion at the end of the season, because you know the sport far better than we do on the women's side. So please impart some wisdom to us so that I can put in a winning ticket, please.
Okay. So my answer is going to be really boring, but I'm going to explain why. So I think it's going to be a repeat of New York versus Minnesota, because all the other teams traded and got a bunch of rookies, and there's a lot of new faces for their majority of their rosters in the Lynx in New York. kept the same rosters besides maybe one or two like bench players, but and New York picked up Natasha Cloud from Phoenix, so I think they'll have a solid group again. But I just don't think the other teams, even though I think Indiana Fever has a really good roster this year, they don't have the seasoned kind of unity or chemistry or whatever you want to call it to take it all the way. But I think they'll do well. But yeah, I'm gonna go New York in the Lynx again for a repeat. But yeah, it's gonna get spicy because there's a lot of changes.
Who do you think wins?
New York, obviously, yeah.
Obviously.
I don't think it'll be easy, but yeah.
I think we have to say there's maybe some bias there, but New York is, I think the best team. I think that's fair. I do think the Western Conference is going to be tough, right? Minnesota and Las Vegas, the Aces obviously still arguably have the best player in the league. In Wilson, they still got 3 All-Stars on that team, plus some solid players. That I do think they're slightly worse, but slightly worse is still probably the second best team in that conference, and potentially first. Minnesota, I know Collier's what the GMs voted her MVP, expected to be MVP, so they're expecting a leap from her, but Wilson's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, and she's super good. So, I mean, they have Chelsea Gray too, and Jackie Young. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be good competition for sure. At least with them too. I mean, there's a lot of like Phoenix and the Valkyries are obviously new, and Sparks have Kelsey Plum now, but Cameron Brink was injured, and now she'll be back eventually. So they don't really have any.
Bentley's excited.
The Cameron Brink fan.
he just loves smart girls.
I was just gonna ask you guys about the Asia Wilson girl.
She went to a great school. That's what I'm saying. She went to a great school. Yeah, he just likes smart girls.
He likes smart girls. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said he doesn't like smart girls. I was like,
no, he loves Stanford grads. The Lopez twins are 2 of his favorite players.
Okay, gotcha.
Andrew Luck, all-time favorite quarterback.
Yeah, he just loves Stanford. It's his favorite college, not named South Carolina or Duke.
That Asia Wilson gal, she's pretty good at basketball, yeah?
Yeah.
Where does she go to college?
The University of South Carolina, I believe. If you look up her page on Google or Wikipedia or ESPN, University of South Carolina. Okay, all right.
I just checked it on Yandex, and she did go to Moscow University.
That's what their business school is in Columbia.
The Moscow School of Business. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right, so we got Sam picking the New York Liberty in a repeat matchup of Minnesota and New York in the WNBA finals. Let's get a little more nitty gritty. I'm going to ask you for 2 winners here, award winners. We're going to ask you for MVP of the league and Rookie of the Year, because those are probably the most public awards in that league. I'm admittedly not the biggest WNBA. Like, I enjoyed the WNBA. I don't follow it as closely as other sports, right? So on my radar is the MVP and the Rookie of the Year. So, Sam, the floor is yours. I'd like 2 winners, please.
Okay. I think for Rookie of the Year, I got to go Paige Beckers. Obviously, I think it's in the script for her to do well, as she was starting on Dallas in their preseason games, and I think she was dropping like 10 points at least. So she's doing a little bit of numbers there. So I'll go her. But I think it'll be an adjustment, just kind of like Caitlin Clark did in the beginning of her season, where she was turning over the ball, like, I don't know, a lot of times in those early games. So I think it'll be rough for her at first, but then I think she'll pick it up and she'll be fine. So I'll go Paige. And then for MVP, that's super hard because Asia Wilson is really good. She did win it 3 times already. So
Voted
I don't know. Yeah. I think Caitlin Clark will also be in the running because now she's no longer a rookie. She's been able to take, that long break in between seasons, not like last year when she was going from college straight to the WNBA. She's able to be training, getting stronger and all those things. So, this is so hard. I don't know. I'm going to do I'm gonna spice it up. I'll also go Caitlin Clark.
That's fair. That's not a bad pick. I mean, she's the most popular player in the WNBA, so storylines would kind of lend themselves to that being the case. Ryan, do you have any picks for this one? Do you have a lean?
I'm tempted to agree about the MVP vote, funnily enough, and I actually thought about it for a little while. I think Caitlin Clark might be so much better offensively than every other player in the league that the other side of the ball won't matter enough, right? And I think in basketball we have obviously offense is the thing that gets you these votes. Defense helps a little bit, but I think Caitlin might have an argument already as the best player in the league, potentially the best passer already and best pure scorer. That's rare to have both of those in basketball. Hasn't happened a lot historically. You could argue, Jokic is in that territory. Different player, but with those specific skills. So I think there's a good chance she wins. I would probably have her in my top two. I think Wilson's hard to take out. Wilson plays both sides of the ball. And are her stocks and those types of things going to be enough to put her over? I think it's very possible. But I think the narrative will be Clark, as long as she, even a 10% increase in what she does, I think we'll get it to her just because of the narrative. And rookie's tough because they play so quickly after they stop playing. It's so fast that it's like there's a chance Paige is still tired, physically not recovered. Right? She played the longest literally the longest she possibly could play, and played a ton that entire time. Right? I think she'll win? Yes, but I think Kiki has an argument.
She was going to be my second choice.
Yeah, she went a long way too, but was not the primary. She was a secondary scorer on her team, and she might find more usage on her WNBA team than Paige does. With Ogunbowale in Dallas, may take away from Paige just a little bit, not in a bad way, but just statistically. So I think there's argument there. And then if Malonga plays, who knows? I don't think she's going to, but she looks really good. I watched some of her games in France, and just puts the ball on the floor, shoots the ball, blocks shots, does everything. She's 6'6". I mean, there's just some natural things there that you don't see 6'6" WNBA players doing. I think she's too young, probably. She's 19, 20, I believe. But if she plays, I think there's a possibility she just, does something. But she has the same problem. She just finished. The French league just finished. I think it's going to be Paige, but I think Kiki potentially has an argument there, and will kind of show out with not having to be second fiddle and be in a more egalitarian offense, I think, in the WNBA than she was at USC.
Yeah, she might stand out more than Paige will on Dallas because of Paige is playing with Enrique and Kiki's with the Mystics. So
the usage might get you right. I mean, Sonia has an argument there too, to potentially have high usage, at least have the ball in her hands a lot, right? Both of them, I think there's a fair argument for. So, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Do I think Paige is the best player? Yes, but it could come down to half a point, half an assist, that type of thing, and then usage is going to matter a lot more in that situation.
My pick was going to be Malonga, again, with the caveat that if she plays, right, because we don't know if she's going to play it or not, but if she plays, Paige is phenomenal, great player, no shade to her, but Malonga might have the highest upside of any of the girls that were picked here.
100%.
Her movement and her skills are freaky, and it's, she's from France, so my brain ultimately just goes to Victor Wembanyama. It's man, she the female version of Vic coming over to play in Seattle. It's well, she can do all the same things on the women's court that he does on the men's court. I'm not as good yet, but she has time to develop into that. But if she plays, her impact could be felt a little more than some of these other girls. Again, no shade to them, but it's an award that only one player can win, and that's kind of how the cookie crumbles. She may not play though, so that all could be a fucking mute point come the end of the season, whenever that is for them.
They got something in the croissants down there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Something's going on over there, and I need to find out what.
Magic beans.
I will willingly eat the croissants to find out.
True. Do you think they have beignets in France?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Is it? I'm pretty sure it's French. So
it's Louisiana and it's Louisianian.
Right, it's Cajun.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, I assume they have it in France. I don't know. But, yeah, I've never been to France. I've been near France, but I haven't had the croissants in France. And I think that's the key. It's the croissants and the wine. You know, they're making them grow big and tall, and apparently skilled as well.
Who knew?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna shift, and Sam is gonna stick around with us. Now we're gonna talk about regular men's NBA. I don't know why I said regular. They're both basketball. But
wait, before we start, Bentley, I'm going to interrupt you. Can you stand up and show the class your shirt?
Just do it.
Oh, that's a nice shirt. I like that.
I'm an ally.
We love
it. Hashtag one of the girls.
Girls girl. Girls girl.
Sure. Yeah. Anyone that knows me knows that's my personality for sure.
Yeah. Well, maybe hashtag not like the other girls, but
no pick me energy here. All right. So we have half of each conference finals determined already. We'll start in the East. I know Gary's dad, he's not said hello yet, but he may be with us. Pour one out for the homie back up in upstate New York and for all the cats over there in Cleveland. A 64-win team, 60-something win team goes out in the second round in kind of embarrassing fashion, losing to last year's Eastern Conference final participant, Indiana Pacers. Brian, we said on the show last week that Rick Carlisle is one of the most underrated coaches maybe ever in NBA history. You listed all the teams that he was a part of, whether as a player or on the coaching staff of just being champions, right? To include being the head coach of the 2011 Dallas Mavericks NBA championship run, which a lot of people consider one of the most difficult championships ever won, right? Well, he and Tyrese Halliburton, who was voted by the players as the most overrated player of the NBA, complete the 4-1 series victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Brian, I'm just going to kind of open the floor for you. Give me your thoughts, specifically in terms of like late game execution for Cleveland, because if you ask me, that was the biggest detractor aside from injuries, but we talked about that last week. Everybody came back eventually. So just your thoughts on how the series kind of ended up and what went wrong for Cleveland here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, like I said, a little bit. I thought, especially in the game, the second loss Cleveland had, that Mitchell did not execute well at the end of the game. He made some mental errors, and he was lights out that game. Like they were not in that game without him.
Yeah.
You live by the sword, die by the sword kind of thing going on there. I want to give him all the credit in the world, but just some mental errors and then not boxing out. And Indiana is not a good rebounding team. And they were getting to the ball first. They're out rebounding, maybe not statistically, but more than you would expect with how that team normally rebounds. They're running the floor. They had all the energy. I think I put that in our group chat, like how much more energy Indiana had than Cleveland. Cleveland looked like they didn't show up some nights. At least the whole team didn't show up. Certain parts did. But I think Cleveland was not physical enough with them. I think Indiana is susceptible to getting pushed around a little bit and slowing the game down. And I think Cleveland just did not execute that effectively. I think obviously injuries hurt. You pretty much lose a game off of those injuries, but they just, like you said, didn't execute. I think the game plan was poor. I think they needed to muck it up a little bit more, especially in a playoffs where it feels like they're letting them do that. But yeah, I did look it up. It was not your question, but Indiana in their wins, they shot 40 or over from three, 40% or over from three in every single win. One win it was 52%. They had a 39.6 in one win, which is basically 40. But every other game was 40 or over. It's hard to win when in the playoffs when the game is supposed to slow down, and it's harder to get freedom of movement and open looks, and the team is still shooting 40%. They're going to be tough to beat when that happens. It's just not typically what happens in the playoffs. Typically, percentages drop at least a decent amount, 5-6% usually. One game they shot 50, 40, 77 as a team. It's just, like I said, I don't think the team was physical enough. Cleveland was deep; they could throw different bodies at people, and I just didn't see them use the amount of people they can throw at you. I just didn't see the use that they had there, and it's unfortunate. I think Cleveland was a significantly better team. I think it was a poor game plan. And then my last point, and I said this to you, is I think Miles Turner was a big X factor in this series. Miles Turner was great. For a guy who's been talking about being traded for like 6 years now, he was incredible. Spaced the floor, forced Jared Allen out on the perimeter, which I think opened up a ton of lanes for guys like Obi Toppin, who was also, I thought, sensational in the series. A lot of the secondary guys were great. But yeah, I think Miles Turner was a huge X factor that Cleveland struggled to figure out, and it just made the game a 3-point shooting game, a long rebound game, or a run and gun game. I think a lot of what he did was able to create that with his spacing, his and then his shot blocking on the other side is obviously always beneficial. So I just want to give him a shout out. I thought he had a great series.
He did, very impactful. Guy who a lot of people don't realize how long he's been in the league. This man played against Kobe Bryant in the NBA, and he's still playing at a very high level. Despite, like you said, Ryan, it seems like every year being involved in some sort of trade rumor. Credit to him, credit to the coaching staff for getting him involved in all the right ways and him just playing extremely hard. Sam, your takeaways from this Pacers Cleveland series? Were you shocked that Cleveland went out 4-1?
Yeah, no, I was really shocked because Cleveland did really well in the regular season, but it was just really uneventful for Cleveland for me. Like, it was just, I think what Ryan said, the energy was low most games. But the Pacers shocked me even more. They weren't a bad team, but they were really like lighting it up for like the whole series, just on all sides of it. Defense, getting the steals, and also shooting the three. So, I mean, shout out to them, but it was uneventful on the Cleveland side. I was a little disappointed in that. Yeah.
Understandable. The 48-point game from Donovan Mitchell that they lost kind of seemed it's going to be a game that's lost to history, right? A great playoff performance that nobody will ever talk about because they didn't win the game. Good and point. They lost the series 4-1. He has a lot of those seemingly in his career. It's funny because he played in Utah and not the biggest market. Nobody really pays that much attention. But he was great first couple of years for Utah in the playoffs. Then he comes here and has that game, and it's all for naught because this team could not pull through late in games. And it is what it is. Sometimes you lose in the NBA, and it sucks. But great regular season. They probably are going to lose a couple of other pieces. I would assume that Ty Jerome gets a deal somewhere. We'll talk about that in the offseason, though, when free agency rolls around, what their roster going into next season looks like. We did have another closeout win on – what night was that?
Wednesday?
On Wednesday night. Yes, late Wednesday night. Minnesota beats Golden State, the Steph Curry-less Golden State Warriors. You know who is on that roster, though, is fucking Jimmy Butler. I will save my thoughts about Jimmy Butler for the end. Sam, I'll ask you first. Open floor. Take it whichever way you want. Minnesota over Golden State. Have at it.
I mean, obviously with Steph being out, I think it made it significantly different. I think they would have had a little bit more of a chance because the first game, when they played Golden State. I think Steph played like the first 13 minutes, but it was a good game. Even after that, all the other 3 quarters, it was solid performance from everybody. I mean, Draymond Green was even out there. I think he had a couple of threes that game. I think it was the first game in the series, but it was good. And then moving on, it was like kind of for me, like how it was with the Cavs, like this is just uneventful for me, at least. So yeah, I wish Steph didn't get injured and everything. I think it would have been a little bit different, but I think Minnesota would have still came on top.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Ryan, same kind of open-ended question to you. Just your thoughts on Minnesota playing so well, the gentleman's sweep coming out. What are your takeaways here? And does Minnesota have a chance to make it to the finals, given what we've seen from the other 2 teams in the West?
Well, I first want to say Anthony Edwards. First word I think of when I think of him is gentleman. Just a guy you want to have around your family.
Taking care of his kids.
Yeah, gentlemen through and through, and that's why we have a gentleman sweep. It's very nice of them. Yeah, Minnesota played well. I don't think the Warriors are that good. I said that at the beginning of the series, especially without Curry, they're not very good. I expected Minnesota to. I think I said in 6. Like I gave the Warriors another game, but then once Curry went down, I didn't even expect that. The Warriors had no chance without Curry. The series was over at that point. Anthony Edwards looked great, though. Playmaking, scored when he needed to. Randall's looked great pretty much all playoffs. The rest of the team looked solid. They're getting contributions from different guys, different nights, which I think helps, right? That they have some depth that they can rely on, playoff depth. I think Rudy Gobert is not being played off the floor a ton, right? And I have advocated that I don't think he should be taken off the floor as often as he is. But the Warriors definitely couldn't take him off the floor once Curry was gone. They had to almost go bigger and try to compete, right? Because you need to play like Looney and Trace Jackson Davis, because who else are you playing at that point? So they kind of had to compete against him. But it's nice to see Gobert out on the floor. I mean, one of the great defenders of all time in NBA history, and we act like he's trash on social media. He's probably second or third ballot Hall of Famer at this point in his career. Yeah, I just think Minnesota, I think near the end of the season, there was like 2 weeks left. I had them as like the 5th best team in the league. So it really doesn't shock me. The West is so tight, basically 2 through 8. I didn't think any team was necessarily a huge favorite over the other team. So not shocking. I expect Minnesota to give a run to whoever they play against, even if it's OKC. I think that would be a fun matchup.
Yeah, certainly will. I said it last week. I still believe it. Anthony Edwards would be like, yo, I'm going to go 1 on 10, and I will still come out victorious because I'm the best player in the world, which is something you probably want from your franchise player, right? The leader of your team, the best player on the team. Coming out of this series, he is the best player on that team, undoubtedly. But is the number 2 player of that team as close as people make it seem to be? Because Julius Randle played fucking incredible in that Golden State series. That was the most shocking thing to me. I understand that, Ryan, you talked about Rudy Gobert not being played off the floor. I never thought that was really going to be the case with this Golden State team because Rudy Gobert is so much better than the big men that Golden State run out there. And without the Warriors of old, right, the Clay, KD, Harrison Barnes, Steph running around the 3-point line, that's not really who they are anymore, especially with Jimmy Butler coming in now too. Like Gobert made a lot more sense to play down the stretch in these games just with the style of offense and defense that Minnesota is going to run. But Julius Randle, man, talk about the change of scenery being a glow up for him. You know, he was injured when he first came over, and he was working back from that. But coming into this series and coming out of the series, I have a totally different appreciation for what Julius Randle is doing in these playoffs. Right, he was he was pretty good in the first round matchup. And then he was phenomenal in this second round against Golden State. He was moving the ball. He was moving without the ball. He was making shots. He was taking smart shots, right? He wasn't just jacking stuff up and forcing it. He was playing well defensively. I mean, he was doing everything you wanted to from a second best guy on like a championship team. And for a guy who's bounced around in the league a little bit, and we thought that maybe New York would be really good for him and like a tip system where they slow it down and play a lot of like grit and grind, if you will, basketball. It just didn't work with that roster. Him and Jalen Brunson, for some reason, didn't really click as well as Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards do. But credit to Julius Randle for playing phenomenally for this entire series. And he was a big part of the reason why they were able to win 4-1, I think. Obviously, Steph being the number one reason, and it sucks that he went down, but Julius Randle was a big addition for the Minnesota Timberwolves. My biggest gripe coming out of this series, though, is let me read you the numbers specifically. Game 4, Jimmy Butler took 9 field goal attempts and 5 free throws. And then in Game 6, Jimmy Butler took 11 field goal attempts and 9 free throws. We have talked on this show, and Ryan, you and I have talked about it a bunch of times, playoff Jimmy, right? What he did in Miami for those 2 out of 3 seasons when they went to the NBA Finals. Like, that is the guy that Golden State thought they were trading for, and that is not the guy that showed up and played in the last 2 games of the series. I don't know. I understand Jimmy is the kind of guy who wants to feel out a game and pick his spots and do things the way that he wants to do things, right? But when you're being paid the money that he's being paid and the best player on the team goes down, and you're this guy who made a big stink because you weren't being appreciated in Miami and they weren't going to give you the contract, and then you show up and you come to these 2 games 4 and 5, specifically Game 5, a fucking elimination game, and you lay a dud like he did. I mean, it's unacceptable, really, if you're going to tout yourself as a superstar and playoff Jimmy and try to prove to the world that you are who we all talked about you as being. It was very, very disappointing for me to watch Jimmy go out and do those things. Do you guys feel similarly to me about Jimmy Butler's performance? Is that something that, like, at this point in his career, was it shocking to you that he came out and played so poorly, or was it something that, like, it didn't surprise you that he didn't necessarily put up the biggest fight in an elimination game? Ryan, what do you think?
I've always been skeptical of the playoff Jimmy moniker to begin with. If there's one person who has hated the Heat's playoff runs, it's been me. And if there's no one left, I've died. Because I've been skeptical of that for a very long time. Basically, every year they went, I was like, this is a facade. We're getting just outlier performance from, him, and not even that great, just like slightly better than average. And they were just kind of barely getting through and getting kind of lucky with injuries and other things. And people are like, oh, he's leading teams to the finals. I had never believed in any of that. So this is the Jimmy Butler I actually believe in. Now, is he a top 30 guy in the league? Yes, like probably still at this point, like when he wants to be. But that is not a person who can carry you in a playoff series. It's just not. You top 10 guys do, top 8 guys, somewhere in that range do, but top 30 guys don't. I've never believed in it. I have been specifically a Jimmy Butler hater for as long as I can remember. And I say that he is from Houston, so it is really difficult for me to say that. But he doesn't claim Houston. He says he's from, just outside, which is true. But so I can insult him. I just don't see it. Do I think he's great? Yes. But it does not shock me that without Curry, he can't do it. You got to think, like, who's the second best player at that point? The Heat were probably better. Like, once Curry goes down, the Heat were probably a better team than the Warriors are. When Jimmy Butler was there, with Bam and Tyler Hero.
For sure.
So he needs help. Like they act like he's some like firebrand. Be quiet, Gary. He told me to stop hating in the chat. They act like he's like a one-man offense and like carries a team. That was never true. Like, yeah, he hit big shots and stuff, but that was just not true. It was never true. It was all media trumping him up. And I will continue to say this. And this is a guy who's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, second ballot Hall of Famer. Like, I'm heavily critiquing him, but he's great. He's not as great as people say he is.
Okay. Sam, was it surprising to you how poorly and non-aggressive Jimmy Butler was in the last 2 games of the series?
It doesn't shock me at all because that's what he did. I think I was talking to you about this, Bentley. I was talking to you about this maybe like in the regular season where I was like, he just doesn't do it for me. You were like, oh, just wait for the playoffs. Just wait for the playoffs. And then he did like, basically the same thing when you saw all the regular season, which I get it. The playoffs are what counts, but I just think it's weird that you flip a whole switch. Just play a game, do your best. Yeah. But no, it didn't shock me.
So we have Ryan using his deep burning loathsome attitude towards Jimmy Butler to not be surprised. And then we have Sam using actual game tape and real life evidence to say that she's not surprised. I guess I'm alone on the island of him being surprised of him just not really doing anything. How much of that is credit to Minnesota for playing incredible defense with, like I said, Julius Randle and Gobert on the back line and Jaden McDaniels and Ant from time to time as well? That's very possible. Could have just been all them. Also, fun fact from this series wrapping up, right? It goes back to before the series. But the Golden State Warriors are now 0-7 in playoff games where Jonathan Kuminga plays more than 20 minutes. So that's quite the indicator there if you're looking for Jonathan Kuminga futures stocks.
Man, he's got so much talent, but he just doesn't move the ball. He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing on the floor. Like, he can score, he can rebound, he's physical, but it's like that's it. It's like that's what you get from it. And they needed it in the series, and they got it. Like, he did do those things. I give him all the credit. He came in and did those things. He did nothing else, and that's concerning to me. Like, you played this long and you can't like make the short roll pass. You can't like hit the guy in the corner when your defense is collapsing. Like, it just shocks me. And he's so new to basketball. Like, maybe it's still just like he just doesn't process the game. But it's tough. It's tough. But Jimmy Butler, not real. Just want to continue to
playoff Jimmy, not a real thing.
It's not real. It's fake. Well, I mean, think about it, right? Like, there's like 20 guys you'd have over him, like in the playoffs, probably.
Currently, or going like into the first round?
Currently, right now, here. Yes. Oh, let's see. Hey, Dad.
We just talked about Cleveland. I'm sorry that you missed that. Sorry for your team.
Gary Jr. here. Dubs tried to play the same offense without Curry. That doesn't suit Jimmy. Yeah, it doesn't. He was supposed to be the in-between guy.
Yeah.
Kind of do all the other stuff. But with Curry not there, he can't really do the in-between stuff, which is my point. Is he didn't have enough help. Like I said, I give him credit for not having enough help, but he's not that good. Look, I'll give you a list. I'll name some guys. Who would you rather have? Let's do it, okay? Let's do it. Who would you rather have, Paolo or Jimmy Butler?
All right, dude, that is unfair.
Who is it?
It's Paolo.
Okay. All right.
You can stop I'd rather have Paolo than anybody left in these playoffs, except for Jokic.
I'm taking the whole league. I'm just saying, if you replace Jimmy Butler with Paolo on this team, like, do you expect a better outcome? That's what I'm saying for the playoffs. Jaylen Brown. Might be a wash.
Yeah, that one, they're probably equal for me.
Okay. Halliburton.
Yeah, I'd rather have Hallie.
Okay. Devin Booker. Washy.
Yeah, wash-ish, yeah.
Cat.
I'd rather have Jimmy.
Okay. Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, okay, yeah. Give me Kawhi.
Cade Cunningham.
Oh, I'd probably rather have Cade.
See, you start thinking about it, there's a lot of guys you'd rather have. These are people probably don't think about like these guys, but I think they're more useful. I thought Cade was way better.
Yeah, he was.
Just Jimmy, I don't think he has it anymore. I think he's lost a step clearly. Can't carry a team on his own. I don't think he ever fully could, but he really can't anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. My point was just that, like, I expected more from him, not to necessarily carry this team to a serious victory, but at least to come out in an elimination game and put up a fight. To take 11 shots, that's crazy.
Yeah, I get it. Just like show some life.
He had one, and I don't remember who was defending him. He caught the ball, like, short wing baseline area, like outside the block on the left side, beats his man off the dribble, like crosses him like across the face, comes into the lane, and has the guy on his back shoulder. All he has to do is kind of like go up with it, and he kicks it out to Guy Santos for a 3-pointer. I'm like, what do we go up? Shoot the layup, dude. I don't understand. Force the ref to make a call. You either make the layup or you get 2 free throws. And he's like, nope, I'm going to kick it to Guy Santos for a 3-pointer.
Brazilian legend Guy Santos. Let's not.
Sure, that's not a knock against Santos, but like.
Sorry to our Brazilian listeners. Very popular in South America, this pod.
My apologies. Be aggressive, dude. Like, don't come out here and talk all this shit and be a sourpuss in Miami and then come to Golden State and not do anything.
Yeah, I agree. How long does he stay as a happy member of the Warriors?
As long as those checks keep coming.
I don't know. He gets checks other places that he wasn't happy about.
Yeah, but he's getting bigger checks now.
I think every team he has eventually soured on.
No, he wanted to stay in Philly. Philly dumped him.
Philly's the one, that made a decision. They took Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Still, I agree. I would do it again.
That's a tough one.
Hey, Gary.
Full house, dude. Full house.
Guys.
What's up, man? We just really lowered the quality of this podcast.
Immediately.
We've reached bottom tier pod now.
Gary's on a roll. Now you're in a dumpster.
Since you're here, I will ask you the question. I'll read you the numbers and then I'll ask you the question. So in Game 4, Jimmy Butler took 9 field goal attempts and had 5 free throw attempts. And in Game 6, Jimmy Butler had 11 field goal attempts in 42 minutes and 9 free throw attempts. Does it shock you at all? Are you surprised? Or are you not surprised, like Ryan and Sam, at the lack of production or lack of aggression that Jimmy showed in the final stages of that series?
I think this is a 2-prong answer, and I think both Ryan and Sam made good points, right? I think this is what we saw from Jimmy as part of the Warriors throughout the regular season, but I also think it's what made the Warriors turn the corner when they did, right? After the trade, they went like 26-13 or something down the stretch. They were basically on the brink of being out of the playoffs and ended up getting in and made up a run and won a playoff round. They don't do that without Jimmy Butler. But I think the point I was trying to make with kind of a succinct message in the YouTube while I was driving home. Don't tell anybody who was monitoring me, but I just think what ended up happening is like this team was built and it succeeded down the stretch with exactly what Jimmy Butler gave them. He was a tweener guy who could get you a bucket at the end of a shot clock in the mid-range, and he was a very good defender against the other team's best ball handler, and he could switch several positions, which made him and Draymond more valuable on that defensive side of the ball, which is basically what Klay Thompson was for this team for a long time during the dynastic run. The biggest difference is Jimmy Butler doesn't have microwave potential like Klay Thompson did. Jimmy Butler isn't going to go nuclear and score 47 points by dribbling the ball one time and hitting 19 threes. And when Curry went down, they weren't able to make the adjustment in the offense. And I think it really boils down to like, this is who the Dubs are. And they weren't able to just change their identity the way that they were able to a little bit with Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant is that nuclear option, right? So it's just it's a product, in my opinion, of like, this is how the team was built when they picked up Jimmy Butler. They made the adjustments within the offense and the defensive scheme. And when Curry went down, you don't have that guy with the gravity, right? There's not many people that have ever played the game that have the gravity of a Steph Curry. And Butler wasn't able to really turn it on. And I think it's a lot of his fault. It's a lot, I think, to blame. I don't know, blame, but like, I think it lies at the feet of Steve Kerr as well. I just think this is who the Dubs were, and they were never going to beat Minnesota without Steph Curry.
Can I add that Jimmy Butler does do one thing with one dribble, and that's pass to Guy Santos?
That's a good point.
He does.
I think that play probably amplifies kind of what I was trying to say, is like, that is within the flow of the offense, right? That's the right play within the flow of the offense. Whether it's the right play to pass it to Guy Santos, I don't know. But I think within the flow of the offense, that might be Steph, right? 40% of the time. And it might be Podziemski, right? Or Podziemski, another 30% of the time. And then maybe it's Guy Santos like 5% of the time, where that wasn't the case in game 6 or game 5.
Yeah, I think we have to. I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think we have to give bad, like hurt Jimmy Butler for not taking over, and then saying the exact opposite about Julius Randle. Thank you for playing within the offense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because Jimmy Butler and Julius Randle clearly had a Freaky Friday moment and have switched bodies.
It's true. Very true. Gary, have you changed your stance on Podziemski yet? Are you still?
I have,
my AirPods.
Steve Kerr is finally using him properly, so I'm going to caveat it.
All right.
And say, Steve, this is who I thought Pods could be. And I think this is who a lot of people thought Pods could be. I'm not going to take credit for, like, I found a gem, right? But this is who I thought he could be right away. And it just seemed like Kerr, throughout the first, season and a half, 2 seasons, it just, I didn't know what they were doing with him. He'd be in the lineup, out of the lineup, 40 minutes one night, 8 minutes the next. And then he'd like DNP. And it's like, what are we doing? We're ruining a young guy. And I think out of necessity this year, Steve Kerr's finally giving him run, giving him leeway, giving him a leash, a longer leash, and allowing him to be the guy who can initiate an offense. And I think this is finally who they probably thought they were going to get when they drafted him, or at least closer to the ceiling of maybe what they thought could be who he was. But yes, I 100%, I'm in. Pods is, I always thought he could be a guy. I just thought that whatever was going on between him and Kerr, it was weird. But yeah, he was great this postseason. I think they've got a piece they can build around. If they can ever figure out how to make Jonathan Kuminga be more consistent on both ends of the floor, because he'll show you a flash on one end and then throw up on himself on the other end, and then vice versa, depending on the night. But Pods, yep, absolutely. I'm in.
Cool.
Well, Sam and Clara guys can play.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
One more question for Gary, and then I know Sam is chomping at the bit to get to the next series that we have on our list. And I will open the floor to let the floodgates roll for the next Celtics talk. Gary, the three of us, before you got on the show, determined that Asia Wilson was the best player in the WNBA, 3-time MVP, WNBA champion. I would just like to ask if you know where she went to college.
I do.
Okay.
Spurs up. Spurs up. Or it's this, right? Sorry. I was doing the hook 'em horns. No offense.
It's okay. You can ask our good friend. You can ask our good friend BK the origin of basically any college's hand signal, because we spent about an hour and 45 minutes in the car one day just going over and Googling all the different hand signals for college teams.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I learned a new one at the ACC title game too. I did not know that the Smoo had the pony ears.
Yeah.
I did not know. Yeah. That was
strange
a new one. That was a new one to me.
Yeah.
I
was doing it a lot though. I didn't want Clemson to win. So I was all in with the pony ears.
All right. Moving on to our last series that is still ongoing to determine the second half of the Eastern Conference Finals. We have the Boston Celtics, and we can touch on the Jason Tatum injury. It was obviously very devastating for those who do not know. Complete rupture of his right Achilles. underwent successful surgery, so he's back on the mend, following in the footsteps of his idol, Kobe Bryant. And then on the other side, we have the New York Knicks, Sam's hometown, dearly beloved. I'm just going to step back and let Sam give me all of her thoughts about the series, because I know for a fact that she has a lot, actually. She may not say all of them here, but I know that she has them. So, Sam, the floor is yours. Please enlighten us about this series.
No, this series has been just so shocking, honestly, because I definitely knew it was not going to be easy for the Knicks to be successful as they are right now. On Wednesday's game, it wasn't the best. And I kind of had a feeling it was going to be that way. Tatum going down in the game before that, I think kind of gave them a little bit of like, okay, like will be a little easier, even though it was really unfortunate. I was so sad. But I think they took it lightly on Wednesday, and the Celtics really like pulled through without Tatum. And during the game, while Tatum was still playing until he went down, he had 40 something points. I don't even remember. So it was definitely the Tatum show. So I thought we would come out on top on Wednesday, but it looks like they weren't there. They weren't even on the same court to me. They didn't have any chemistry, and there was no like effort. And the Celtics had all of that. And the fouls, I don't think they were necessarily bad calls, but I mean, they were in the bonus in 9 minutes left in the third. So I don't think we were going to be able to have it easy, an easy road after that. So the refs were just really particular with the physicality of it all. So it was just wipe it clean, and we'll just try again tomorrow.
Ryan, I'll ask you first, and then we'll go to Gary. Coming off the first two games of the series, I know we had a pod that week. We're like, man, Boston probably could still win this. Before the Tatum injury in game 4, Boston had blown another, I believe it was 14-point lead. And they were currently Boston was down 9. The injury occurred on a live ball turnover by Boston that OG Anunoby was going to come up with and go, they were going to have numbers come back down the other side, chance to go up 11, maybe 12. At that exact moment, again, prior to the injury, so like live during the game, within that stretch of them blowing the 14-point lead, that's what, a 23-point swing to go from up 14 to down 9. Were you still confident that Boston was going, or I don't know if it was going to, but still had the ability to win that game after seeing them blow double 20-point leads and a 14-point lead?
Yeah. I think I am nothing if not consistent. As I've said this many, many times. We've been on this pod probably 3 different times complaining about Boston blowing games. And who are the complainers? My friends above me. And
right where we belong.
Yes, lording over me. I was not concerned. I still felt pretty good about them. They have a tendency to fall asleep in games. Y'all call it the it factor, the Mamba mentality, or whatever BS you want to call it. Y'all call it that, but they just, they don't always show up. Sometimes they get up big and they get. But I also want to say, as I said before, I don't think they made that big of a mistake, except for they stopped taking good shots. I think that's what hurt them in these games, is they get up big and then they miss a couple of shots and they get in their own heads. So I do think they're a team that can be psyched out. I do agree with that. But they're also significantly more talented. So you can get psyched out. I mean, best player in the series. I think by far the best team. I think Boston was significantly better than New York on paper. But it is a team that maybe doesn't always have the killer instinct, as y'all would call it. But I mean, talent wins out in a lot of those situations. And I want to say, like I said, they stopped taking good shots. Like they were giving up open looks because they kept missing even the open ones. And they were like, let's stop taking the open ones and take contested shots that are in the middle of the floor. And I'm like, I did not agree with that. And I think that's a mental thing, right? If this was James Harden, he would have taken 27 threes in a row until he made one. And that's what I want to see. If they're the right shot, take the shot. Yeah, it's irrelevant now, but
Boston takes bad 3-pointers often.
No, they do, but my point is, even when they take bad and they miss, they also stop taking the good ones. They have like this. That's like this weird. They're like Tatum will get open looks and be like, well, I'm not going to take that one because I missed that step back on Sam Hauser on Mitchell Robinson. So I'm never going to take another one. I'm going to have to take a runner on Mitchell Robinson, which is a way worse shot and way more difficult. Less space. Like I just didn't agree with that, and I think guys like Horford and Porzingis started passing up like open looks. It just I think that hurt them a lot. But I think they were fine. I wasn't worried about them. Obviously, with Tatum going down, that changes the complexity of the series. But I still expected them to win before that.
Gary, exactly the exact same question to you. Watching them blow the 2 20-point leads in game 1 and 2. And then watching them blow a 14-point lead in game 4, prior to the Tatum injury going down, what was your confidence level at that Boston could still not only win that game 4, but go on to win this series?
The game, it was over at that point, right? The injury happened at a point where Boston wasn't going to win game 4. But honestly, like as Ryan did say, right, talent does win out. I thought Boston could win 3 in a row, right? If they get hot enough, they shoot 45% from 3 or even like 40% from 3 because they shoot so fucking many of them. Just from a volume perspective, if they make 40%, that's, you're talking 80 points out of what do you need, 110 probably to win a game in this series. I think that what it boils down to is a little thing we call momentum that Ryan doesn't believe in. And I'm going to frame it this way because like the Knicks were built to beat this team, right? This is the team the Knicks were built to beat. They've got long athletic defenders who can contest around the 3-point line. They've got guys that can shoot threes. They've got one guy that can go get them a bucket whenever they need him to, and Jalen Brunson. He's got a dog mentality. And they added a guy in Mikal Bridges who, when he's at his best or close to his best, he's a difference maker on both ends of the floor for a team because he can score at all 3 levels. He's not the most prolific scorer, but he can get you a bucket at all 3 levels. He's a good rebounder, but he is a lockdown, drag you out of the house and beat the shit out of you defender. And that's what they needed in a series against a team like Boston, because if you're going to run a team off the 3-point line, you have to defend that way. And I think that's what we saw in this series is like, as Ryan put it very well, is like they just quit. They quit on what got them those 20-point leads. They quit on it. And we've talked about it. Bentley, you and I have gone to the well 100 times talking about the fact that like they just switch off sometimes. And you get a lot of these contested 3-pointers. You get a lot of like, I'm going to drive to the basket because I think it's the right play now, but I don't have any conviction with it. And then you miss a layup or they turn the ball over. They, trying to make a bad pass. Like Jason Tatum at the end of, I think it was game 2, I believe at the end of game 2 when Mikal Bridges stole the ball from him as he passed out of a bad shot. Like that's what the defense gave him. He took it and it was the wrong play, but it felt like the right play because I got to get downhill and try to get a close shot. Just play your game. And I think Boston is the better team in this series, but this is the team that this Knicks team was built to beat. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them go and blow the shit out of Indiana next series because Indiana plays a very similar style to Boston. They don't have the same talent, but damned if they don't shoot the same volume of threes and have a very similar style of offense. The Knicks might go and win 4 out of 5 against the Pacers, and we're talking about a Knicks team that's finally back in the NBA Finals. I want to make one last point about the Tatum injury too with Game 5. It's very easy, and I know that there's a term out there for it called the Ewing effect. Essentially, we're not breaking new ground here on the show, but I think that's what happened. And a lot of times it can be kind of a 2-pronged thing where one team lets up a little bit. Sam mentioned that, but also I think Boston and these teams that have a superstar go down, you get a little bit of juice. And I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think this version of the Celtics is going to win 3 in a row, but you can win a game 5 on your own court against a team like that, against the Knicks, when you've got a little bit of juice and maybe the Knicks let up a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking game 6, close it out in the Garden. I don't think this Celtics team, the way it, without Tatum, I don't think they can win 3 in a row.
Yeah, I agree. I did think that game was over for the simple fact, even if Tatum had not gotten hurt, like I said, OG was getting that live ball turnover. They were going back down the other side. And say they don't even score, right? You have, just under 4 minutes to go in that game, and you have Jalen Brunson with a 9-point lead. They're probably going to win that game. Like that, again, regardless if Tatum goes down or not, you give this Knicks team with that closing lineup, specifically Jalen Brunson, a 9-point lead and 3 minutes to go. I mean, they're running the play clock down. If there's a football analogy, they're running the ball up the middle. That's what they're doing. They're running the Dean Smith 4 corners offense, and then with 8 seconds to go, they're giving it to Brunson, and he's making something happen, right? I agree with you in the sense that the way this Knicks team was constructed was specifically designed to counter this Boston team. I would like to see a little more from Cat, not 28 feet away from the basket. It's incredible to me that he's 7 feet tall and almost refuses to have a post game at all. I mean, he has a post game. He does not use it enough, in my opinion. And this is something admittedly not an original thought, but I see it when I watch these games. Tibbs never runs offense for Cat. We don't see a lot of Brunson Cat pick and roll. We don't see a lot of get Cat in the post and run actions off of that. Like, it's always Brunson is going to make something happen, and the Cat will end up with the ball. They're not running a lot of things for Cat, and I think that going forward, that could be a problem for them. Specifically, if they make it to the NBA Finals, right? I'm not sure the defense is going to be at a premium whenever we see the Knicks and the Pacers go at it. But we know that the teams that are left in the West play extremely hard defensively. And we know that Oklahoma City has historically one of the best defenses we've ever seen. That being said, credit to the Knicks for what we assume is going to be a series victory. This may end up going 7. I expect the Knicks to win tomorrow night. But, only time will tell. And pour one out for Jason Tatum. That's a bad injury. You always hate to see that.
All-time Jim Dolan bad karma if they don't win, though.
Oh, yeah.
If they blow this.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Can I add
Charles Oakley would probably point and laugh.
Yeah. Can I add there's an article on ESPN about the title is the Boston Celtics and the Price of History. If you go to their NBA page, it'll be right up at the top. It's long, great article talking about the history of the Celtics and the weight of championships and how that affects the team. They interview Satch Sanders, who's one of the only, there's 2 living people from the dynasty. Satch Sanders has 8 championships. Bob Cousy is the other living member. They interview kind of both of them, but Satch is one of the primary guys. And they just talk about how, the Celtics is one continuous story and that there's dynasties within that story, but it's one story. It's a riveting, kind of how they think about, their team versus other, franchises and how they look at their history and stuff. And it talks a lot about Jason Tatum. It was written as he got hurt, they were finishing the article. And that's in the very end of he gets hurt. But it kind of talks about how Jason Tatum is so locked in. He would not talk to any of the legends that would come to the games because he was just I'm ready to play. And Jaylen Brown would go and talk to them, which makes total sense. That's exactly what I would expect to happen. Jaylen Brown's he loves history and that type of and learning and stuff like that. But Jason Tatum, I feel bad for him because he kind of has that Larry Bird, leave me alone, I'm going to dominate you kind of attitude, very dedicated to his craft. But it's a really interesting article. I recommend people read it. It's long, but it's good.
Yep. All right. Real quickly, because this is still an ongoing series that is hanging in the balance, less or more so than the Knicks and Celtics. The Nuggets are going home tonight to play Game 6 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll go reverse order this time. We'll go Gary, Ryan, and then back to Sam. She can close us out on this topic. I, for one, am shocked because, as y'all know, any long-time listeners here will understand that I'm pretty anti Josh Kroenke, and I think the supporting cast around Jokic is not very good. They proved me wrong in the first couple games of the series, and then it reared its ugly head the other night with that game in Oklahoma City where they just could not buy a bucket in the entire fourth quarter. For 3 quarters, Jamal Murray played incredibly well. And then it's like everybody's legs kind of dropped out from underneath of them. Everything was front iron. They were getting blown by on defense. It was an ugly fourth quarter for Denver that night. And Jokic did everything he could. He did the patented pick up his dribble at the top of the key, spin around 3 times, heave it behind his head, and it's just money. Yeah, it's incredible. The things that man does with the basketball is poetry
in motion. Off the rafters, off the front bleachers, nothing.
Yeah. So Gary, I'll go to you first. Are you, one, surprised that we're going to a Game 6 with it being 3-2? And 2, do you give the Nuggets any chance to win at home or even win this series in its totality?
I think we go 7, and then I think all bets are off when you have the best player on the planet, right? So I do give the Nuggets a chance to win this series. I think they lost the series in Game 5, though. You mentioned the bad fourth quarter. Couldn't get a stop on defense. Couldn't get a bucket when you really needed it. Jokic had 3 defenders on him at times, and his supporting cast, as you put it, just let him down. Needed a couple of buckets and couldn't get them. Needed a stop or 2 and couldn't get them. And honestly, if ever there's been a pivotal Game 5, that one felt like it. Because OKC's got the home game in their pocket, and I just think that the younger roster, the deeper roster, I think is going to win out in Game 7 potentially. However, I'll double down on the fact that give me Jokic in a Game 7, I'll take those odds, but I do think that they lost this series in Game 5. I am not surprised though. I think I was quick to say, like, when they fired Mike Malone, stand by for Denver to win a title, because it would be the most just karmic thing, because I don't understand why he got fired. I know there was tension and all of that, but miss me with that stuff. He's a very good coach, just won a title recently. And honestly, they were overachieving with the roster that they've got. We talked about it at the beginning of the season, like, who's the 3rd best scorer on that team? Sure, right? Pick a guy on a given night, and maybe you'll get contributions. Aaron Gordon's been great in the playoffs, wasn't great in the fourth quarter. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing through injury. He's been great in the playoffs at times. He's been a little inconsistent, as one would expect with Michael Porter Jr. He was really bad in the fourth quarter. You mentioned Jamal Murray struggled in the fourth quarter. I just don't know. I don't know that they can go win 2 games here. But I'm not surprised. When you have the best player on the planet and you've got a guy who we've seen him will this team in the past, I think that is a big X factor. And I don't think that OKC matches up really well with Denver when they're at their best because of the size that Denver can match OKC with. I think Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Jokic being able to kind of play an interchangeable game is a bit of a headache for OKC at times. And I think that's how we've gotten to Game 6 and probably Game 7.
Nice. Ryan, I asked you something very similar. In fact, it's the exact same question. Are you shocked at all that we are going into a Game 6 with it 3-2? And do you give Denver a chance to win tonight or win this series at all? You're muted.
You're muted.
Yep. Good thing I only said one word.
Thank God we didn't have to hear it.
Yeah, wouldn't want the listeners to miss out. No, I'm not. I'm not shocked it's 3-2. I think I had OKC winning in 6, so this kind of is where I expected it to be. Does Denver have a chance to win? Yeah, I think if they're getting the contributions from the other guys outside of Jokic like they have been, they can. What's interesting is it seems like a lot of the Jokic big games, they're losing those games, which has always been kind of like the critique on him to some extent, is like if you could just have him score and do his thing and shut everybody else down, you could win a lot of games. That's been a common strategy. We'll see kind of what they do. OKC just throws so many looks at guys. It makes it tough. Like I said, one of the best defensive teams in history. The floor is just so high for that team. Like, it's hard to beat 2 games against them, right? They're very rarely going to have a bad game because their defense shows up every night, right? SGA doesn't show up every night. Yeah, Jalen Williams doesn't show up every night. Chet doesn't show up every night, but the defense shows up every night. And I think that's tough to win even just 2 games against them. Do I give them a chance? Yeah, I would say it's in like the 20% range, though, pretty low.
All right, Sam. Are you at all shocked that we're going to a game 6, a 3-2 series? And what do you think? Chances of Denver to win game 6 tonight? Chances for them to win the series? What do you think?
Well, it doesn't shock me because I've seen Denver do good things in the regular season, but I think it will go to a game 7. I do have Denver winning tonight, but OKC I think I have winning it all just because they play faster pace, defensive, and then transitioning over that to offense. So yeah, I've got OKC. The only thing that shocks me about the series is the games that OKC has lost, how they lost it. I don't know. I thought it would be a little bit more like a nail biter or something, but I think it was the first game they lost where it was like, what the heck is OKC doing out there? So I think the performance when they lost is like kind of made me understood why it was going for this long.
Yeah. When you have the best player in the world, you always have a chance.
Yeah.
It's the guys around him that have to step up. And after watching Peyton Watson miss 3 3-pointers in the row in the fourth quarter, and then Cason Wallace Lou Dort hits 3 3-pointers in the row in the fourth quarter, it's kind of like the writing's on the wall there for this game, buddy. Not great for Denver, but this is what we expected out here, right? Oklahoma City, the best team all season. Ryan mentioned it, historically great on defense, and that just supplements the easy offense they get. Even though Shea is not having the best playoffs that we've ever seen.
I don't think he's responding very well to the way he's being officiated in the playoffs. I think that's where he's struggling the most on the offensive end, is he's letting it affect him from possession to possession when he's not getting calls that he usually gets in the regular season.
Who would have guessed that it's the year 2025 and the best Kentucky basketball player left in the playoffs is Julius Randle? Not me. I'll tell you that.
Did Karl Anthony Towns go to Kentucky?
He did.
Okay.
Are you
he's
saying
he's a cat?
No, I'm just saying.
Are we going out on that thin limb?
No,
he's a cat hater.
He's so zesty.
He's so zesty.
All right, now for the fun part of the pod, and we'll try to make this quick because we do have a game kicking off here in a couple minutes. Gary and I are firmly in the camp that the NBA is rigged, and Sam doesn't completely understand the lottery. So what I'm going to do is I'm Gary to briefly explain the lottery to Sam, and then Sam, whatever questions you have, please ask the group.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so basically the evolution of the NBA's lottery system used to have an envelope that the commissioner, a bucket of envelopes, essentially the commissioner would grab one, and that was the team. And going as far back as the Patrick Ewing draft is really when the first, at least in my life, the first time we heard the rigged stuff. Like there was a frozen envelope essentially, right? Then we went to like a ping pong ball system. It's never taped live, right? Because it would be the worst television possible to empty the hopper and then put the right number of balls back in for every team as you go pick by pick by pick. And then it was like there's all, and then they introduced these kind of floors for teams to get to, you know, you can't go any lower than 3, you can't go any lower than 5 and 7 and 10. if you go lower than 5, then you either get 10, 11, or 12. If you go lower than 6, then you get 11 or 12. That sort. It's a very convoluted system in its current state, and they leverage odds, mathematical odds that have been kind of leveled off to a certain extent. Now, like the bottom 2 have the same percentage, and then it gets incremental from there, all the way down to the worst teams that have like less than 1% chance. And we don't see any of this. We see none of the special sauce. And I'm going to shout out Bill Simmons because I know Ryan made the right point. You made the right point, but I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, damn it. Bill Simmons, when the Luka Doncic trade happened, said, and I quote, "Watch in a few months and Dallas will have the first pick in the draft. LA gets one of the 5 best players in the world because LeBron's on his way out, and the NBA can't have the Lakers in the tank because the last time it happened, it was after Kobe. They didn't get high picks, and it was bad for the league. It was bad for ratings. It was bad for the league. There is no chance that they were going to let the Lakers have a respite, right? A lull. So
they did end up with Julius Randle, though, out of those bad picks.
They did. Who has rebounded nicely since his lackluster days in LA.
And Josh
but yeah, essentially it's a mathematical equation with like number combinations that teams, the way the combinations work out, it's how it determines. It's all smoke and mirrors. The league decides who gets the first pick, and the league decides that the Leonsises are going to get the worst possible pick every time. And to be honest, they've earned it. It's a really bad ownership group, but yeah, that's the lottery in a nutshell.
Now, Sam, do you have any follow-on questions to that very eloquent
Ryan hates everything I just said.
I just don't get how, like, you're setting up all teams for success. Like, I mean, what you're saying makes sense, you know, like, oh, we trade Luka, and then obviously they're going to get the first-round pick, which is whatever. But, like, and I used the example before we got on here of, like, the Wizards. The Wizards haven't had a good season since, I don't even know, but, like...
2017.
Yeah, so then they still don't... They have the what number pick? They have 4th?
6.
Okay, thank you.
They got the worst pick they could have.
Yeah, so it's like, for teams like that, what, like, there's no... It's just going to be the same kind of rotation of... Oh, yeah, we're going to take this good player out, and then we're going to get him. And then it's just duck, goose.
It is.
I don't know. That's just how I see it. It's silly.
It's a flawed system that they put in place to prevent teams from tanking in the second half of the year, which has been completely unsuccessful because Will Hardy...
Now we just have more teams tanking.
Exactly. We just have more teams tanking now because... It's no longer a race to the bottom. It's a race to like the bottom 10.
Yep.
It's really unfortunate. Now, Ryan, I know you're going to come in and try and speak some reason. So like, I'll let you do that, but know that I will be muting you.
I'm already muted. Yeah, I agree with Sam's point, actually, that it does seem to be a little unfair. I think the WNBA's like 2-year aggregate is interesting because they take a 2-year aggregate for their so your record from both years. I think that, you know, that's an interesting one. I texted y'all, you know, previously that it does incentivizes more people to tank in for longer. Because you have to, because there's no guarantee of like a high-end pick, so you just have to keep doing it over and over again. Where I actually feel like if less teams had a high chance, there would be less tanking because it wouldn't be worthwhile to tank, right? If only 6 teams could get the first pick or something like that, that would be the bottom 6, and you make it like 25-25. You know, 15-15, and the last 2 have like nothing basically. You could easily manipulate this, but they don't want it to be like a guarantee that a team gets it, which I get. What I will say is it was a 5% outcome for these top 3 to happen.
There's a 0.0014% chance for the top 4 picks.
All right. Okay, let me explain statistics to you, Bentley, because clearly you don't understand them. Do you know that the highest possible chance was like 0.004? Because each individual number is so unlikely to happen that they're all extremely low. So that doesn't matter. It's 5% for those specific teams to be in that spot, not those numbers to come out. You're reading the numbers coming out. Those exact numbers are that percentage, not those teams.
Oh, teams. Yeah, I'm saying the order it fell in. So 0.0014% chance.
Like, that is irrelevant. That doesn't matter. That makes no sense.
It kind of does, because that's the draft order.
Yeah, it's the percentage the team could it's how many possible combinations do they have, right? Like, that's what actually matters, not every single individual combination. That's what matters. Sure. Do I think it's a flawed system? Yes, I think it's a flawed system. I think it has done the opposite of what they wanted to do, and they should reevaluate it and think about that. But what I want to say is all these people saying those numbers and being like, this is rigged, the amount of stuff you would have to do to rig this is crazy. Like,
no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Okay, think about this. Let's do.
No, but we watched the entire league do this to Daniel Snyder.
Let's backwards plan.
These parties of 30 have. It's so easy for this to happen in a closed door system with 31 people involved. 33 people were involved, and Dan Snyder got alienated. How about old boy in LA with the Clippers, Sterling? He got the shaft from 31 people. 30 people.
We're talking about racism versus the draft. Those are two different things.
No. We're talking about manipulating the system. It's whether it's the draft or getting an ownership group out or shitting on an ownership group and keeping people away from them, blackballing them, all of that. It's a group of 30 people who only want to make money.
Well, I don't fully agree with that. But
there's a very select group across every single sport. You could take all 4 major sports, and you've got a group of 130 people who own these teams. There's like less than that. 7. What's that?
Probably less than that, because some of them own like 3 of them.
Sure, right? I was on the high end, and then maybe Green Bay, you could say there's a million people that own that. But
yeah,
there's a group of 130-ish entities that own these teams. There's like 7 that give any fucks about the win-loss count. Like, honestly, and I might be on the high end. There might be 3 that give a shit about whether the team wins or loses. Yeah, all they care about is relevance and cash and checks.
That's not the only thing we have to consider here, though. We have to consider significantly more than just the owners, because the implication is that Nico Harrison is in on it, right? That's the implication. Nico Harrison.
Keep his job.
So, right, but he is told by the league.
He doesn't have to be told by the league. He can be told by ownership. Get rid of Luka. He doesn't have to be told why.
Right. Okay. So that's possible, but it's very likely that he would be like, that's really weird. And maybe he wants to keep his job, but he has a lot of pride. I would hope he would come out and say something. But then
he called Luka fat. He ain't got much pride.
Dallas also has to miss the playoffs. Dallas also has to miss the playoffs for this to happen. They almost made the playoffs. They were 1 game away. The only reason they missed the playoffs is because Kyrie hurts his knee. It's not even a good plan. If you're going to do a conspiracy, at least have a foolproof one. It's not even a full.
You think Kyrie was really hurt?
Yes. I'm pretty sure he tore his ACL. Kyrie Irving loves conspiracies. There's nothing more than he wants to find them. He wants to discover the conspiracies. He is not going to let. Okay, he is not going to let a group of rich, potentially partially Jewish people make him injured. Let's all be honest here. That's not happening.
Unless
like, guys, I told you.
They run the world.
He's the first guy coming out to rat them out.
They have the evidence of the flat earth.
What it could have been is the Brotherhood runs so deep is that Kyrie Irving wanted to play with Cooper Flagg. She said, I will sacrifice my ACL to the NBA.
That's something you would do. You would do that.
100%. I get to play with Cooper Flag. I've already won a championship. I'm gonna be a Hall of Famer. Yeah, sign me up, Jack.
Cooper Flag's not even a good enough prospect to trade Luka for.
All right, somebody get this guy out of here. We're done. Somebody get this guy out of here.
If Dallas did that and their only point is to go to Las Vegas, they're dumb. Because you can take Luka to Las Vegas. I don't understand the point of that. I get there is precedence for a owner specifically tanking their team. I've talked about it before. The Buffalo Braves intentionally tanked their team so he could move to San Diego. But he did that on his own. It's not like he had the NBA was not like, hey, we think you should tank the Braves so you can move to San Diego.
The NBA wasn't a $4 billion corporation back then, though.
I agree, but there's also no new media deal. Luka's going to be 33 by the time the new media deal comes out. No one will even remember this. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the next deal. It's going to have almost no effect on it.
Yeah, but
that's
Cooper.
Wait. An NBA superstar in his prime, because we know the prime of an NBA player goes well beyond 33.
Not for Nico Harrison. That guy's prime is next year, and that's it.
Nico Harrison.
Luka Doncic in LA absolutely has a bearing on the next TV deal. I will not support that blasphemy.
Well, LeBron won't. So putting LeBron and Luka together doesn't make sense.
This wasn't about LeBron.
It was about
this was about ensuring that the Lakers don't have the lull they had after Kobe retired. That was bad for the league.
Yeah, so again, the media deal is the only way they make this money, and they just signed it. So they don't need to do this. It's irrelevant. What are they going to sell more jerseys? Like, that doesn't really give them any money. That doesn't do anything for them.
Gives the Lakers money.
The Lakers have all the money in the world. What do they? Do you think all the owners are like, we're excited the Lakers have more money? Thank you guys.
You think in a vacuum they're thinking that if the ratings are atrocious for the next 8 years, they're going to get another great TV deal?
Yeah, but it's not going to matter. It's like they're going to aggregate like the last three and go, look how great these are. By then, Luka might not even be in the league. He's talked about retiring at like 32. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not even a good plan. It's my point. Adam Silver is a smarter person than this. Does he do some dumb stuff sometimes? Yeah, everybody does. But I don't think his grand plan for the next media deal is to trade Luka Doncic.
I don't think it has anything to do with the next media deal, though.
We're looking at this all wrong. It was about this media deal, and what happened was Adam Silver stepped in when Jalen Brunson hit the market as a free agent and said, Dallas, do not sign Jalen Brunson. We're going to send him to New York, our biggest market. And then because he knew that Jalen Brunson was going to be good, he forced them to trade Luka and then gave them the first overall pick. That's what it was.
Yeah, the media deal is 11 years. Luka's going to be retired.
I don't know where the media deal comes into this, though.
Because it doesn't affect the money they're making. It's like 80% of all the money they make is from the media deal. So that little slice of pie, they're going to increase like, 5% maybe? That's not worth anything to them. It's more beneficial that the next media deal is worth something.
Greedy, grubby, money-hungry billionaires, 5% isn't worth anything to them?
All right, so I hate the Adelsons. We've established this, okay? I should be on your side here, which should indicate how bad of an argument you're making. Because I want the Adelsons to be doing
Listen, the Lakers being bad is bad for the league, media deal aside. The Lakers being bad is bad for the league. You're right about the media deal that this isn't going to impact it. I can argue primes, whatever, but the Lakers being bad is bad for the league. And
having an international superstar in Los Angeles is good for the NBA.
On one of the two premier franchises too.
I can see both sides of this argument, right?
Fucking nothing. Like, let's not forget what they traded him for.
They did not shop the deal around.
They got a bag of liquid dog shit for him.
Yeah, that's just Nico's fault. Like I agree with y'all on that. What I'm saying is There's no evidence of any of this. We're retrofitting narratives to fit what we want here.
I want their email server. I'll find the evidence.
It's like, yeah, sure. If that gets found, we can have a conversation about it. But there's literally zero evidence. Literally zero evidence. Now, they might be dumb enough to email about it. But there is zero evidence. All it is people just being mad. And they're like, it must be a conspiracy because I'm mad, which is not evidence.
Yes, it is.
That's called emotion.
Like Adam Silver is supposed to be a Duke fan, right? He went to Duke. He graduated from law school at Duke. He and I are supposed to have a connection. And I called dibs 2 years ago on Cooper Flag, 2 calendar years ago, probably on this show. I'd have to go back and look, but 2 years ago, I called dibs, and he did not respect that. So I've lost all respect for a Duke alum.
He's not welcome back in Cameron Indoor.
Yeah, stay out of there. Stay out of there.
I agree. Should have got your dibs. I think the main Red Claws called dibs when he was like 11, but they did not get that either. They can get his brother maybe.
Yeah, exactly. His brother is going to Maine.
Yeah, so that's perfect.
They said we want dibs on Flag. They didn't specify which one.
Specify which one.
It's the dad.
Just to address this, the draft works the same. But the draft order is determined very differently. It's not by record specifically. It's just there's a rigged lottery involved.
It's dumb.
It's not rigged. It's not rigged. You know, they used to flip a coin. That's how they used to do it. Worst team in one conference and worst team in the other conference, and they flipped a coin. And you know the reason they stopped doing that is because the Rockets won it 2 years in a row, and it pissed everybody off. Because they got Ralph Sampson and then Hakeem Olajuwon, and they were like, that's annoying.
No more.
Go to the lottery. And then the first year of the lottery, we immediately get conspiracy because it's Patrick Ewing. It's like, oh, Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. It had to have been a gold envelope.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
Right.
It was a cold envelope.
Think the lawsuit that would happen if this was discovered. The NBA would collapse if it was discovered that they were rigging the draft, because the owners are not going to agree. Even if they were in on it, they're going to sue the NBA for rigging the draft. They're going to be like, I didn't know about it. You need to pay me out for this team, which is $7 billion, and you need to do that for all 30 teams. So you're now a bankrupt league.
None of them are going to sacrifice the cow.
Think about the lawyers who are doing the class action lawsuit if they find this out. For all the Dallas fans or all the Lakers fans or all the Washington fans who all get in on this, and they get their $12 after the class action lawsuit. What's
the legal precedence for it?
It's fraud. What do you mean legal precedence? It's literal fraud.
How is it fraud?
They're lying about what they're doing. Think how much money is involved in the league. Gambling. Think how many people gamble on who gets the first pick. It's a huge thing. Like it's billions of dollars like that they're committing fraud about. If this was true, you would be sued until the ABA would be the new big league. They'd have to bring that back.
Bring back the Kentucky Colonels.
Hell yeah! Actually, I'm in. This is rigged. Bring back. I'm ready for the Pittsburgh Condors.
I could get behind bringing back the ABA. That'd be fine with me.
Sorry, I'm very frustrated about this. Bentley throwing fake numbers around. Gary throwing fake narratives around.
I just think it's silly. You could easily fix this whole issue. Sucky teams get
worst team gets top pick.
You get picked. If you're the suckiest, you get first pick.
That's worst team gets the top pick.
Washington still wouldn't have gotten the first pick this year, though. So
I also don't get why they trade first picks in 2029. Why do we care?
As they're trying to win now, so they trade their pick for forever ago.
Yeah, but why? That shouldn't even be a thing.
You mortgage you mortgage your future. I think the thing you do is you do a 2-year aggregate, only the bottom 10 teams per each year with a 2-year aggregate. I think that is a way more fair way, and you get rid of the flattened odds.
Yeah.
That way you have to tank for 2 years. You have to really commit.
Washington would
Victor. They'd have
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, they'd be stacked.
They've been so bad for so long.
Basically, since the 70s, they'd have some incredible players.
I think 71 was the last time Washington made the conference finals.
No, that's not right, because they won the championship in like 78. So it's like late 70s. It's like immediately after that.
Maybe it's 70. Maybe it's 79.
It could be 81, maybe. But,
maybe 81. I don't know. So
it's late 70s, early 80s. Yeah.
It's been 40 years since they made conference finals.
I think the year they won the championship is the last time they went to the conference finals. I'm pretty sure.
No, do we have a fact checker on this one?
No, actually, AI's throwing up on itself.
Oh, classic.
Don't trust it. Don't trust it.
Last, so 79.
79, yeah.
Oh, baby, we're here.
Was their last conference championship.
Real Wizards fan right here. That's what I've always said.
Yeah.
Love Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes. Love those guys.
Yeah. Well, we've come to the end of our show, come to the end of our program. It was a long one, hour, 40 minutes. We had a lot to talk about tonight. Thank you, Gary, Ryan, and especially Sam for coming on tonight. We really appreciate all y'all being here. We appreciate everyone out there in virtual land, on the chat, jumping into the comment section. Thank you so much. We will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, with conference finals going on. Probably going to be Boston, or excuse me, the Knicks and the Pacers. My apologies. Knicks and Pacers.
Sam hated hearing that, by the way.
Yeah, my fault, Sam. My bad.
I'm just gonna call you after this.
Hand up accountability. That one's on me. And then, actually, I'm going to go around real quick. The game is tied 11-11 currently. Sam, Ryan, Gary will go in that order. Prediction for tonight, who wins? I know we talked about it earlier, but just on the spot. Go ahead, Sam.
Denver.
Brian?
OKC.
Gary?
I'm going to go Denver.
I will also take Denver, which means that Ryan's going to win. God damn it.
Hell yeah, brother.
Victory Island.
Yeah. All right. From all of us here at Backyard Buckets, thank you again. We are out of here.
It's rigged.